一位候选人的真正立场不能只看口号。今天我们将从5个最关键的问题出发，了解他对教育、家庭、公共安全与社区未来的真正想法。
Sure. My name is Ron Harden. I am running for Chandler City Council for the 2026 election, midterm election. I have been a resident of Chandler for 15 years. I've lived in the Southeast Valley for probably 30 years, the entire time that I've been in the state. I'm a family guy. I've got children ages 43 to 26. Long-term resident small business owner. I owned a cigar lounge in South Chandler for almost 15 years. I'm an IT technology exec by trade. That's my day job. I've been doing that for a number of years. Outside of that, I've enjoyed living here in Arizona, particularly in the Chandler area.
Living there 15 years.
Roughly, probably pretty close. I lose track of time. It's been about that time. I've been in the Southeast Valley for all 30 years. I started here in Ahwatukee, made my way over to Chandler.
As a resident of the Chandler for nearby the 30 years, what was the defining moment that motivated you to run for city council at this time?
I am very active in the Chandler Chamber for a number of years. They have a really good leadership program. When I stopped traveling so frequently, because initially my first probably 10 or 12 years here in town, half the time, I traveled almost 100% for work. And once that stopped, I really wanted to get involved and understand the community in which I was living. I also have my business. I went through the Chandler Leadership Institute with the Chamber. That was a 2-year program. Very beneficial, showed me every aspect of Chandler and the way Chandler does business. Culture, the arts, public safety, all of it. I knew at that time that this was something that I wanted to do. I've always been public service, participated on boards, Boys and Girls Club, Salvation Army, these types of things. This was my opportunity to do more. That's what I knew.
With your background as an IT executive and a small business owner, how would you data-driven approach help your manager the city budget and the public resource with the efficiently?
My background is in technology. For that, I've always had my approach has always been pretty much so data-driven, meaning fact-based. In technology, there's a number of ways you can arrive at those decisions. They're spot on. And I think that's a proven methodology. I think it applies to looking at policy, looking at the way you prioritize, outlining that strategic roadmap and what you're going to be doing. From there, to be able to build that plan and be able to execute. That's what I believe I would do, my approach in terms of how I would leverage my background and knowledge in that area.
Under the 18 years old, the children are supposed to not have the unisex facility. After this, is outside, when they're growing, their mental is stable, so they know how to choose it. Right?
That's right, because children, when they are young, that's a most vulnerable time. They're in a learning pattern. As a hands-on father, I took great pride and liberty in raising my children, understanding their gender, and whatever decisions they made after the age of 18 or whatever determines them to be grown is their own choice. That's part of the beauty of this country, is the freedom of choice.
The freedom of the choice, under the 18, they are not mature yet.
And not even close. It should be the responsibility of parents.
Parents or the education, to leading the doing the right way to do.
Right, it takes a village.
Parents want to know who is provide mental health counseling to students. Do you support the increased transparency? Parents have the right to know that's qualification and the background of the counselors, as well as the content of their sections.
The answer is, I believe so. And again, I want to be very clear in my understanding of roles and responsibilities of City Council and Chandler Unified School District Board. 2 separate bodies with 2 different missions, 2 separate missions. As a City Council member, it's my responsibility to make sure that we govern and put policy in place that addresses that, protects. I am all about transparency. I think that should be a number 1 priority always, in being transparent, open. Because of some of the situations that we've had and we've seen publicly across this country, particularly as it relates to schools and school boards, I think they should be more than willing to provide information and make these things visible with someone's resume and professional background. Heck, everybody uses LinkedIn, so let's just start there. This is not a big secret. There becomes things that, in terms of a privacy act, that you have to be careful with, PII. get the information. You can take it up to a wall, though, but those things are not open to interpretation how they get executed. There's a very clear policy and laws in place to protect against that. How we manage and get ourselves up to that point of privacy, I think we should be as transparent as possible.
That's wonderful. The Asian people more like to do the education for the children.
Yes.
They are worried about, they want to know exactly what they're going to do.
That's exactly right. I had two of my children, Asian American, came through the school system, the Chandler school system. I wanted to make sure that was how they live.
Well, Chandler has a greater resource. Parents care deeply about the information. Do you support the ensure that the parents have the absolutely right to know the decision-making power regarding education concept and the activity that involve the children's value?
My response there is, from a parenting standpoint, in terms of knowing what your child does in and out each day, you've got to be involved. It's the parental rights are first. Absolutely in no way should a school have the opportunity to supersede that. Again, I'll keep saying it as long as we're on this topic. That is why we have a school board, a policy board from the city for how that mission is executed.
The school board under the council.
It's its own separate entity. When you think about funding, they have their own funding, when you think about the responsibility of a school district being inside the city boundaries of Chandler, there's specific guardrails that we should be ensuring that the school district itself adheres to.
The resident of the Chandler, they can, if the parents have some of the questions, they can directly talk to you or email to you. You will collect these questions and tell the education board member.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how those two things integrate. If you have a concern, you bring it to the city. The city in turn will put you in touch with a respective school board member or the school board body. The conversation happens there. If that person's not satisfied, guess what? You get a chance to come back to the city and express what you feel is not working using that venue. If there's anything in the bounds of what the city can do, we need to open and listen and address it.
Chandler has a significant Asian American community. What's the specific measure where you taken to ensure that the resident and the business owner from all background has a real seat at the table in the city decision making?
One of the things I think is a strength of Chandler is its diversity. We have 3 to 5% Black Americans, probably 10-11% Asian Americans, and so on and so forth. I believe that it starts with outreach, and particularly with our Asian American community. They contribute to our economics, contribute to our education, as we've been speaking, our cultural arts, certainly our small businesses. With that, it takes to, going back to one of my earlier about outreach, you want to make sure that you are engaging and having the conversations such that everyone feels that they have a seat at the table. And that way, when these things come up, you can do things, town halls, I say that over and over again, town hall, some forum where the Asian community can feel heard and that they have a representation and a seat at the table before the decision's been made. You want them to have input into the process.
How do you balance the expense of the large tech companies with the residential demands for quality of life, including traffic control, noise mitigation, and water conservation?
Economic development, the quality of life, I don't think they can be separated. I think they're tightly coupled. They're integrated as such that as we grow, with this limited amount of new space we have left, we have to be very mindful of how that looks. It boils down to balance. We don't want to grow at the sacrifice of quality of life. We want to make sure that those two things are integrated and move in lockstep, such that we can execute on a balanced plan that addresses both items. I don't think you can separate the two.
You are emphasize support for the first responder. How do you plan to use technology to enhance community safety, well maintenance, transparency in law enforcement?
I have not had an opportunity to get inside the bowels of what the city operations look like. I can share that in my history, working, for instance, I worked for the city of Phoenix in technology. We deploy a lot of technologies for fire. And with these systems, when you look at it, they have like systems, no matter where you go, an RMS system, all of these type of technology foundations are not unique to any. What I want to do is ensure that we have the tools, that we offer the tools, or offer the funding for the tools to advance the technologies. Chandler prides itself on being a city of innovation. I want to ensure that we are not just talking the talk, that we are walking the walk. That way we can make sure that we have the latest technology. We don't need to be on the bleeding edge of technology. We certainly can be early adopters with a plan of action.
That's good. If elect, what is the single most important issue you want to take in within your first 100 days?
I'm going to say better communication. I want to ensure that the channels for communication and engagement are open.
How do you do that?
Right. We touched on that earlier. That consists of outreach, being purposeful. These are not where you sit and wait for folks to show up at City Hall knocking on the door saying, I have a problem.
Oh, so you
have to go out and engage into the community and really understand the voice. Go to the cultural events, meet and greets, and just let folks know who you are so that you don't appear to be that king up on the hill. As a council person, you are part of the community. Your responsibility is to attend as many events as you can. Make sure that folks understand that you're relatable, you're human, approachable.
At the end of your 4-year term, what's the specific change do you hope to see in Chandler? What would you define a successful term for you?
I would start with preservation of quality of life. I don't want to see us take any steps backwards. I don't want to see us take any steps sideways. I certainly don't want to see us stand still.
In your mind, what kind of quality of life is supposed to be?
It boils down to our economic prosperity. Let's make sure that we have a good business environment, that we can continue to attract high quality jobs, which is what makes Chandler a place people want to live, work, and play. That's balanced with ensuring that we've got an environment, infrastructure. You've probably seen the news where the car driving down the street, sitting on a stoplight, falls through a sinkhole. That's bad infrastructure. If you have systems and processes in place where you can see that train coming before it happens, that's where I want to go. That's what data-driven is all about, is ensuring that type of risk and threat is isolated and addressed before it happens.
Make the Chandler so great. Everybody want to move here. Mm-hmm. People not really understand the concept, what they're doing in the city. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can introduce a little bit about your duty, what you do on the council.
City Council's responsibility is ensuring that basic services are provided to the city, to city residents. That is public safety, public health, and environment. Those, for me, and anywhere I've been and seen, are what government is responsible for providing. Anything outside of that is going to come on demand, need, and desire of that community. When you start looking at what we have as far as affordable housing, you start looking at more investment in public safety, our infrastructure. These are things where it's the council's responsibility to provide oversight that the dollars coming in, every tax dollars coming in, is being spent accordingly. That's where that priority comes in. We, the council, is responsible for governing. I always say, don't confuse governing with execution, operations. Stay out of the business. The folks that work for the city, they know what they're doing. We provide that guidance and the guardrails to help them come to the acceptable use of tax dollars.
Very much for your insights. Finally, is there a specific message you would like to leave for the voters?
I would. As a fellow community member, I am excited about the opportunity to represent residents in leading Chandler to the next chapter of this journey. I believe that about what do you do next? It takes a different type of person. It really does. I do this every day for a living with a large budget at risk, large staff, and so on and so forth. And I really do believe that's what I want. I'm just asking for folks to go to my website. That's Ron Harden for Chandler. Take a look at what I am. Look at my background. Follow me on LinkedIn. Give me a call. My phone number. Send me an email. The more folks that I can meet and have a conversation with, the more it helps the cause for all of us just getting along. Specifically with the Asian American community, as I've stated. I have 2 children, Filipino. They went to school in Chandler.
Thank you. Thank you very much for our interview. Well, good luck for your election.
Thank you very much, Sunny. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. See you next